start with an opening prayer by Belinda Webb.
Do you stand here? I don't think I need a microphone.
No, you don't need that.
Father God, we thank you that in this country, we still have the right to assemble, we have the right to speak, we have the right to worship. We have so many rights and freedoms that so many around the world could only hope, dream, and pray for. May we remain free, and may we have the wisdom as citizens and as representatives of our assemblage to retain these freedoms and to continue to honor you in all that we do. We thank you for this evening. We thank you for our guests, our members, and we just thank you for this privilege and opportunity this evening. Help us to be ever mindful of all the things we have to be grateful for. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen. Thank you, Belinda. I want to welcome all of our guests, our elected officials. We will start out with Senator Gustafson, our own Senator Henry Gustafson. We have Mr. Ben Connell. He is now the representative for a large chunk of Kershaw County. And then behind him, we have Cody Mitchell, Representative Cody Mitchell. He represents another decent-sized chunk of Kershaw County. We have the current and the newly elected Kershaw County GOP Chairman, Amanda Uden. We have the current second chair of the Kershaw County GOP, Jill Jordan. She's making herself a nice little plate. We also have first chair-elect Belinda Webb for Kershaw County GOP. We want to say thank you for all of you coming. We appreciate your attendance here this evening. And we also want to welcome these two lovely ladies. They are our newest members. We have Adele Holbrook and Jeanette Holbrook, mother and daughter. All right, we would like to welcome them. And we look forward to getting to know you. We are creating a sisterhood of women here. Okay? And thank you to those who are not members here for just showing up tonight and coming and seeing what we're about. Now, yes.
I'd like to introduce my guests.
Okay?
That's okay. We have some first-time guests tonight. Elizabeth Target, raise your hand. Okay. She and I know each other through Kershaw County Fine Arts. She is phenomenal with hair, makeup, and she's off. But her day job, she is a professional woman. But that's how I know her, and I know her lovely daughter, Riley. Oh, I just love her. And Riley's here with her tonight, so thank you so much for coming. I hope you come back.
Thank you for inviting us.
Every time during Sister Act, I play 5 different roles. Well, my first one up was the hooker. And then right after that, I had to be a church boy. So I tried real hard to not put blush on. She kept grabbing me and saying, put blush on.
Yeah.
Put blush on.
That's me.
I couldn't get it right once. Put blush on. Put blush on. You're a whore. Put blush on. And yes, now Miss Locke.
What?
Miss Locke.
Oh, Anna and I are so close. I just felt she was an extension of me. This is Anna Locke. She lives here in Camden, and her husband is a native of Camden, but they've been here for several years. And she is a CPA and a credit firm. And that's it. That's all she wants me to say. So welcome, Anna. I'm so glad our guests are here.
Welcome, yes. Okay, now we'll put everything to Tim Webb. He will lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So all rise,
Please
please.
stand. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And then we will have Janice Caldwell lead us in the South Carolina Creed.
I didn't know whether to stand toward the flag or toward his shirt.
be Janice. Can I get a second?
Second that motion.
Henry will be our second. We sent out the minutes via email. There were a few up there. If anybody has a problem with the email, minutes from last month, now is your time to say so. It's discussion. Okay, if not, can I get a motion for someone to approve the minutes from last month's meeting? I do. Okay. And Sandy's a second on that one. Okay, now, we have two new freshman representatives with us this evening. Ben Connell and Cody Mitchell. They are going to tell us what goes through their minds as they think about our rights as they are making laws. It's their rights too that they're thinking about. So we're going to ask them that. Tell them to give us a little bit of forethought into what you've got going on in your brain when you're thinking about that. Plus, we're going to ask them, what's it like to be the new kids on the block? All right, come on up, gentlemen.
You want us up here?
Right up here.
Sure.
And we're going to leave you two guys to it. Each of you take a couple of moments, tell us about yourself, and then we'll start asking questions.
Okay. Do you want us to use the mic or not? I think I'll be able to project, but you want me to grab the mic? Okay.
Grab the mic.
Oh, as you wish. All right. Can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Great. Thanks for having us here tonight. I know Cody and I are both very grateful to have been invited tonight and speak with such a great group of women and men as we talk about our rights in Kershaw County. It's really good to see very familiar faces also. I have to say thank you to whoever made that strawberry dessert.
That's Paulette.
Shame on me, but I went back and got 2 plates, and I was thinking about a third.
He calls them plates. They're not plates. They're big eats.
Cody looked at me funny, and if that dessert's on for hire, let me know. I got some events coming up. So you asked about our thoughts as we go through this process. Well, for me, I go back to my roots, and I'm like, which freaking wrestling move could I throw on these guys over here and gals in this chamber to get something done? But that's not the legislative process. It seems deliberately it's quite slow. And so what I've realized early on is it's a really relationship-based business. Someone has to be able to trust you and your idea conceptually for legislation, and then you have to understand where the markers are. If it were a sea voyage, you have to understand where the markers are and be able to read the stars, essentially, to get something to a committee, the proper committee initially. If it goes to the wrong committee, it won't go anywhere. It has to get to the right committee, and then you have to have a relationship with the chairperson of that committee, or those who are outspoken and respected on that committee, to kind of shepherd legislation and good ideas through before it even can get to the House, which then it has to pass the House before it can go to the Senate, and vice versa. So those are some of the things you think about. It has to be practical. Your ideas have to be based on data so you can justify them, and especially as the new guys, we don't have any early political capital to use, and so it really has to be good ideas that not just make people look good as they legislate, because there's a political part to this, but practically are very good. They will have a real positive impact on people's lives. And that was one of your questions. What was the other one you want us to address?
What's it like just to be the new guys out there?
Everybody seems pretty excited because we're a larger class. I think it's the biggest one, second biggest one in history coming in. And so many new faces means a huge amount of turnover in the body. And so they're meeting a bunch of younger people. There's a few older folks that are in our class as well, but a lot of us are quite young actually.
I was getting ready to say, most of you guys are like under 35 or under 40.
Yeah. I would say on average that we're on the younger end of the stuff.
Yeah, I'd say there's several young professionals with young families, which is a little bit unique. I think that brings a unique perspective to discussions about schools as well, because instead of having grandchildren in school or grandchildren who've already graduated high school, you've got actually legislators who have kids actively at different levels of school, so elementary, middle, and high school, and they're sharing their real world experiences on what just happened, either in public or private school or charter or otherwise. And so you get a lot of different perspectives there. So, well, here's Cody. It's a short mic, so I'll sit right with you.
So I'm Cody Mitchell. Most people don't know who I am because I'm from the big if you've never been to Bethune, go left, go right, drive 17 minutes, stop, walk. Every day. And that's where I grew up. My entire life, that's where I still live. Graduated North Central, and went off to college, went off to law school, went off to Army, came back home. Number one, because I love where I'm from. Number two, because I'm an only child. I don't get too far away from my mom. And I practice law in Hartsville, but I lay my head in Kershaw County every night. So, almost every night. So, when it comes to what Ben said, of course, I have a slightly different perspective on things. Number one, because the only thing that anybody needs to know about me is that I'm from Bethune, South Carolina, and that's kind of the lens that I see life through. And one of the probably best gifts that my parents gave me is that I was raised and grew up in Bethune, South Carolina, because I was actually born in East Tennessee, and we moved there when my mom got remarried when I was 3. Anyhow, Bethune's a special place because even though we're all different, we all kind of are the same, because we've always, you work together. Race, you go to church together. But when things happen, you always coalesce together. Race didn't really make a huge difference. Economics didn't really make a huge difference because nobody was really rich. May have been land rich, but wasn't money rich. And that's just the way that you kind of look. So it kind of goes along with what Ben said. I view everybody the same. So I don't care, of course the speaker, and I give him deference, but I knew the speaker before he was speaker, and we're all, at the end of the day, you need to be friends. And if you can't be friends or at least agree to disagree, then you're not going to get anything done to begin with. So that's kind of my base, where I start at everything. And then go from there. I mean, of course I have core principles, but I think where things have kind of gone awry, which is kind of hard for me, I kind of walk through life and I feel like maybe I was born, 20, 30 years too late. Because just because you don't agree with me and I don't agree with you don't mean that either one of us are wrong. Minus core principle things. What I do behind my doors is really none of your business as long as I'm not hurting you, your family, or some child or something like that. The moment when we became, as a society, of if you don't believe what I believe, you're wrong, everything went to the wayside. And there's a lot of that. Ben and I hear a lot of that on a daily basis. Senator Penry hears a lot of that on a daily basis. Right. But that's kind of the failure. Now, what I will say is that there is some hope, is that, as Ben already noted, there's a class of 27. And that class of 27, in the House at least, is different, and we live in different places, and we have different ways that we make money, and different ways that we worship. But overall, we're the new kids, so we at least are kind of like when you show up, we're trying to be friendly and we're trying to be friends, and on that basic level of human nature, or at least have respect for one another at the moment. Now that may change, of course, that's the way human nature goes. Somebody lies to you, somebody stabs you in the back, but that hasn't really happened yet. Yeah, I mean, you kind of know. And I think that there is a change, and as Ben noted, there is some youth. If there's not youth, there are people who have had extremely different life experiences, which change. I mean, we've got I think, and don't hold me to this, I think we've got 8 veterans. So of course that's a difference because they're used to getting along with people that they may not like, or at least coexisting with people that they may not like or get along with. That's a big change. We do have, Senator Penry was talking about this, they lost some female representation. Most of it was Democratic, but they lost lost female representation, but we also have some new female representation in the same vein, and that, of course, brings in some background that we need to be involved in any discussion. So I know I just talked about a whole lot. When it comes to the way I decide, I think the other thing was, how does it, so the two questions were, how do we protect the rights, and how does it feel to be a freshman, if I remember right? So, I mean, when it comes to the rights, I think that my view, of course, I'm basically, everything's on, I'm from Bethune, but the real basis is, our jobs isn't really to create good laws, to keep bad law from becoming law. Right. So one of the finest people that if people don't know, of course, Senator Penry, Ben, and Tim, and Amanda, a few others, I have a different perspective because I work for the former Speaker of the House. We're law partners. He's like a second father to me. He was in there for 24 years. He represented the same area that I represent. So, Greg Delaney, who was the chairman of the House, for the House Judiciary Committee from Chester, was there for 30 years, and that was his line, is, I'm not there to create good law, I'm there to keep bad law from becoming law. Because at the basis, we can take care of ourselves. And we can take care of ourselves. We need help from one another sometimes, but the government has never, mine's national security, the government doesn't really do anything good. And Tim and I can tell you, because I'm military background just like Tim, sometimes they don't do national security that great. We're just the best thing going as of today. So, I think that that's our guard, is if there's a way to make it to where it can be you deciding instead of somebody else, that's the default answer, is it should be you deciding. And I also say that, and I'm taking too much time because Ben needs to get in here, and that's from the level up. And I say that as somebody from Kershaw County who their entire life heard that the only fix to the Kershaw County school system was to close the little school that I was supposed to go to. Now, I'm not saying that wasn't a good thing. I wasn't there, but that was the only solution that they had. That's not really fair. So, that's not somebody doing our job. I can say with Kershaw County, and I'll hand it back to Ben, is that from where we have been in the past, I think that as a delegation, we're probably in a lot better shape, because Ben and I, Big Ben, he sits right in front of me, I sit right behind him, we're there, and of course Senator Penry, we all get along, which is the basis of being able to accomplish things for our county. And I think thus far we have at least laid the groundwork and accomplished, some low-hanging fruit that we can do that. And of course, going forward, I have no doubt that we'll be able to do more. So I've talked enough. Thank you. Yes, ma'am.
I got a question for you.
For me?
Yeah. Well, both of you, either one. Do you have a pet project you're trying to get through?
That's for both of them.
Yeah.
Yep.
So the pet project, Ben can talk more about what we've done locally, because he's the one that pitched it, and then I signed off on it. I will say that tomorrow I will drop a bill that is it's not a local issue, it's an interesting issue that's statewide. So, I'm in the National Guard. I was in active duty, reserves, I've done all three. And I didn't realize this, but just because it's just outside our mind, when I'm on National Guard duties, which I was this past Saturday and Sunday, my pay is exempt from state tax. Thank you, I appreciate that. When Tim gets his retirement check, it's exempt from state tax. He appreciates it too.
Cool.
If I go on active duty orders for a year, it is not exempt. And number one, I'd forgotten it, and that just doesn't seem fair. And the reason that doesn't seem fair is not just on a fairness level. So I think if you hear anybody talk, Ben talks about it a lot. Kershaw County, has a drain. People aren't coming home. They go off to school, they just don't come back. Tim will tell you, when you're on active duty, you kind of coalesce to where you're either last duty station is, or you're either going to Florida or Texas. Because there ain't no tax on your retirement. We fix the retirement, but we can fix it on the front end of, hey, if you were from here, you can continue to vote, and like you are here, if it wasn't for Uncle Sam, it's more likely that you're gonna come home. So I'm gonna drop that bill tomorrow, and we'll see if it gets a committee hearing or not. But I think it's something that you move towards, because if you deal with economic development, workforce, or whatever, I mean, you want your veterans, because they're easy people to plug in when they come off of active duty, just put them right in, they keep rolling.
My daughter is a reservist with the Army,
Yes, ma'am.
but she also has the civilian job.
Right.
She is her unit's administrator. But because she's reservist, you have to be a reservist to have the job she has.
Right,
She doesn't get assignment bonus.
right.
Re-enlistment bonus. They cut her job as her re-enlistment bonus, so there's several things there. But, now, you picked on grandparents and schools, and we care just about as much of the schools as the parents do, so just to stick that back in there.
I wasn't picking on you.
Okay. They're raising a lot.
My parents, who are grandparents now, are essential actually to
Yeah.
my children's upbringing, I found. That's why we moved back from Charleston, about 10 years ago, is to have the family more involved. But it's just interesting when you have younger legislators who take, for example, an issue coming up right now, early start for 4K. You know, you wouldn't necessarily know it unless you're living it, how it impacts you, the additional 10 days or other time periods that apply. So that's what's been used. But I want to try to address your earlier question first, and I'm happy to take any others. So pet projects, not necessarily. My goal in coming to the State House was to try to repatriate our state tax dollars in any way that I could. Whatever project it was that was worthy and could be justified, try to bring tax dollars back to Kershaw County. We have several of those, and Cody has signed on to numerous. I'll just mention a few of them. And then I'll tell you a little bit about how Kershaw County is a bit of an odd duck in the entire state when it comes to COGS. And that's one of the issues, main ones we're working through for road funding. So we've got funding that we put in projects for through the House budget for the Health Services District and community health initiatives, road improvements. I'm not sure how many of you have family or friends, or if you yourselves go down to the boat ramp at underneath the Highway 1 bridge. Right there is a DOT right-of-way that was poorly engineered in the past many, many years ago, and had to be taken out for boater safety. It actually was on the downflow side, and so boats would get caught up underneath, and people have their property damaged or almost get killed and injured. So funding for those types of things, sidewalk projects, all kinds of stuff coming through. In addition to trying to make sure the budget doesn't increase taxes in any unnecessary way, which it dropped it last year, and we're looking at a strong budget this year coming up. So each one of those projects, we're trying to justify with data and say why it's really important. That's on the funding side. One of the pieces of legislation I put forward that I hope can get through committee deals with our fire service locally. So fire service in Kershaw County traditionally had been just about full-time volunteer. You had some full-time professionals that were employed by the county to oversee the real volunteer effort, but it was not necessarily bucket brigade, but it was based on that system. So wherever you lived, and most full-time workers, actually there's about 29,000 or so full-time people in Kershaw County that have a full-time job. About 21,000 leave every day and go work somewhere else other than Kershaw County. And so that brain drain problem that Cody mentioned is in part because we don't have jobs in Kershaw County or jobs adjacent to Kershaw County, where you can have a home base here and still. So we're trying to bring the jobs back here so that people can stay, so that you don't invest all the time and effort in these wonderful kids who grow up with a great moral compass and a good skill set, but then they have to go somewhere else to work. You know, it'd be nice if they could stay and be here. But back to the fire service. Kershaw County started 4 to 5 years ago, transitioned to a full-time professional fire service, and that requires multiple shifts. You can't just hire one fireman. There are rules about ratios. If you have 2 go in, you need to have at least so many outside in case something happens to those, and you can save them, right? And so we went to multiple shifts in Kershaw County, started at the busiest station, which was in Elgin, Blaney, and have kind of worked on a hub and spoke system where it can rotate out to handle different calls. But there was an act called 388. I'll get in the weeds for just a little bit because I think it'll make sense in the end. Act 388 put a cap on tax increases, which is a good thing. Overall, there's some other portions of Act 388 I don't like, but there's a cap, a percentage increase that you couldn't go up anymore on your taxes. Well, if you were a big county, like a Greenville area or Columbia area or Charleston area, and you had full-time fire service already, if you had the personnel on the ground already, you're okay. Because you could incrementally increase your budget, pay for human resources cost increases, pay rises, that kind of thing, or even new hires. But if you had a volunteer service and a really low budget that did not include your highest cost, which is personnel, well, you could never make the millage increase to actually hire somebody. You could just never do it. You could never transition to full-time. So in lieu of doing that, Kershaw County had to come up with fees to say improved parcels will get a certain fee. Just say if it's an unapproved parcel or improved parcel without a house on it, it could be a $100 fee, and that lot might be worth, who knows, a few $1,000s, maybe more. Or you could have $1 million house, and it's paying $100 too. So the fees don't really line up, to be fair. And to me, I think it's one of the transformative pieces of legislation put forward because it requires a county, if they choose to drop the fees. They can replace it with fire millage, so they have to drop the fees in the same amount. They can replace it with fire millage, but that millage base will increase over time. You won't have to keep putting disproportionate fees on people, and it allows you to have a full-time fire service, which we really need as a growing county. Yeah?
Ben, Mr. Connell, representative, I'm not really sure what to call you in this sense. Have you read S401? Do you know what I'm talking about? S401 was legislation put forth a few years ago, and we got it through the Senate Finance and through the full Senate vote. And then it was of course, objected to by a senator, and it died with that objection. But what that does, I really encourage you to look at that, because I know you're filing that as well, but it puts a one-time millage allowance that allows a municipality to do a one-time increase for millage based on special purpose fire districts, because I think we need to attack this not only through that, but other measures too, because we've got to fund our fire services. And they're all professional, whether paid or not. So I would just look at SO 401. If you haven't already filed the bill,
Those are the terms I'm talking exactly about.
yeah, I know.
And I have looked at it in the past because I was sitting on county council at the time, and actually encouraging the local legislators like yourself to file it at the time.
The
So
county did support that. I'm excited that we have more people on board to do that, and that you're leading that in-house. Between us, we should be able to keep pushing it, because everybody knows Act 388 was awful legislation for rural South Carolina. So kudos to you. I back you, you back me. We'll get that done. We got champions both sides. That's great.
thank you.
Anyone else?
Any other questions for Cody or myself?
I did have one.
Yeah.
Earlier, and actually, I think the first time I saw you speak, this group during campaigning, you mentioned that one of the main things you wanted to do was bring the tax dollars back to Kershaw County. So, I would like to ask the question, where would you like to see those funds appropriated first? And also, if you will be a steward of that money once it's brought back, in any way, whether it be advisory or whatever, because, it's great for you to bring tax dollars back. If the county is not spending them properly, then, are you following what I'm saying? Are you gonna have?
Yeah, sure. Well, would I directly as a legislator be a steward over tax dollars that come back to Kershaw County? Not necessarily, because if it goes to a DOT project, for example, or if it goes to Central Carolina in their budget, or if it were additional funds that were to come to Kershaw County for a recreation project or infrastructure project somehow, at some point you have to hold the local legislators or the local representatives accountable in their own right.
Yeah, I didn't mean steward as in that, but, would you have any influence, as to where that money would go?
Earmarks.
Yeah, sure. Well, and
What
that's,
would be your first priority there? That was the first one.
well, there are multiple. Those that I just mentioned.
Okay.
I'm not necessarily saying that any are better than others. There's some funding we're looking for Central Carolina to improve the jobs landscape in Kershaw County, particularly on the healthcare basis. It makes sense with the new move with MUSC coming in, whether it's providing nursing care, which, you know, if,
I'm sorry.
you can't hear me?
I can hear you now. I've been
Okay.
out here before.
So, healthcare in particular with Central Carolina, we're looking at significant funding coming in for that, so that would be a good one. I mean, we need it all, because for the last couple of years, we haven't gotten any significant funding. And I mentioned the COGS before, particularly with roads. I've asked the House leadership and staff to give us an update on what are we really in Kershaw County. Most counties are covered by one COG, or Council of Government, and that is what appropriates certain federal funding and state funding for your road improvement projects. Well, we're unique in that we're, out of the 46 counties, we're split in half. You've got Santee Lynch's that has half of Kershaw County, and then you have the Central Midlands COG that has the other half of Kershaw County. And sometimes, as earnest as those groups might be, they end up pointing fingers at each other saying, well, you should get funding from them. And so the result is we haven't gotten funding from the Central Midlands COG for a significant roads project for about 20 years. And after I get a few more answers from the staff at the House, I'm just gonna say we probably need to audit it and figure out exactly why we haven't gotten a per capita fair share of the funds we pay into the system. They're taking our tax dollars into the system every year. And in some ways, it seems like the criteria for getting funds is, it's not necessarily rigged, but the goalpost keeps moving. So you will have, call it Kershaw County's top 10 projects based on the West Water Transportation Study, or its precursor study 10 years before that called ERNIE, was the East and Richland Northeast, which they looped Elgin to move off into at that time. None of those projects got funded. And so I could take the West Water Transportation Study and say, these are our top 2 projects this year. We have to get this bridge and this road done, just have to do it. And I would talk to the COG staff, the DOT, and they would say, well, you know, that's great, but the numbers on population density, traffic counts, don't even match up with the number 10 project in Lexington or Richland County, so sorry. Well, to me, that just seems inequitable. That's not fair at all. It's not fair that you pay into the system and you don't get anything back and you have to fund other areas' projects. Basically, we work hard to subsidize other people's projects, and I think that's just wrong. It would go to the point that Cody made about, you know, that's a bad policy or law or provision or system that is allowing that to happen. And people have just been baffled by not knowing about it sooner. And so we're bringing it to light, trying to understand the way that we can fix it, either legislatively or administratively, and make that positive thing happen for Kershaw County. But Amanda, to answer your question, healthcare dollars, road dollars, some recreation dollars that are tied into safety with the boat ramp. So, you know,
We're gonna ask Senator Gustafson to come up here and help us. She's got a legislative report for us.
I just to tie into your healthcare, one thing that's particularly very important to me and that I'm passionate about is mental health. I have an 8-year-old nephew who suffers from mental health issues, and we cannot get help. We absolutely cannot get help. We have gone so far as to take him to the Children's Hospital in Richland County and said, help us. We've called Kershaw County officers to come and ask them to escort him to the hospital so we get some more, like, you know, traction on this, and they will not do anything. They won't even give us a report. And in fact, Richland turned us away and told us, you can't come here if you're from Kershaw County. You have to go to Kershaw County Mental Health Center. So we drove ourselves in the middle of the early morning to the health center and parked ourselves outside it and waited until somebody opened the door. And you know what she said to me?
is there no doctor?
No, there was no doctor there, and they couldn't see him for over a month and a half at the earliest. And I said, so if he kills himself or all of his family tonight, tell me what you're going to do about it. And they had no answer,
Yeah,
and
so-
I'm very concerned about
So
that.
it is a funding issue and recruitment.
That's what they said
So-
too.
So I'll just say to you, in this budget, there's additional dollars going in for mental health. And so you wouldn't see it necessarily this year, but next year, we hope to see improvements.
It's a step in the right direction, but still not enough, because the reason is we've waited 15, 20 years to fund mental health.
Yeah.
And that's a failure on everybody. We're brand new, and Senator Penry's fairly brand new. That's a failure on everybody.
Yeah, so
For
I'll-
I think
a
it's-
long time.
For a
At
long time.
state in general, like the fact that
That's true.
Richland County, who has the resources,
That's
would turn
across the
someone from
board, though.
Kershaw County away.
That's
and
across
you
the
have to
board.
go home.
Well, they have more resources, but they still don't have enough. So I've got a nephew who is in the same boat, and it's sad. I appreciate your honesty in sharing the situation with your son. He's a minor.
My nephew, yeah.
I'm sorry, your nephew.
Yeah.
You think he would get special treatment as a minor, right?
Yeah.
Now imagine someone who's over the age of 18, and I've got a nephew who's in that situation now, and they've gone to the very same facility, knocked on the same door, and heard the same response. And
It's so defeating.
so beyond it pulling on my heartstrings, I hear stories like that and understand that we've got to pay doctors more, particularly in mental health, and that means we also need to increase the pipeline. I've got a brother right now who's in his second year of residency in Greenville, in prison, and there's just not enough of them. Since he's in residency, he shot me a text image the other day of a little closet that they sleep in and working out 80 plus hours. He's like, we just need more of us. And he's doing adolescent and pediatric psychology, which is school age and a little bit older than that. And he says there's just not enough of us. So somehow at the undergraduate level or even in high school, it's got to become cool to work in mental health. It's got to become attractive.
And to be cool to work here, because there's such a stigma in Kershaw County of our healthcare. It takes a special person, and I'm gonna call you out, like her, who's going to nursing school now and is absolutely looking to go to Kershaw County because she loves
Where
it.
are you going to school?
Central Carolina.
Central, okay, great.
Yeah.
At the Sumter campus?
Yes.
Okay. So
Healthcare, I'm in the nursing program.
at some point, we're looking on trying to have a sister or expansion of that program coming up into Kershaw County, since you have a large local hospital and it's looking at, this is a growth area. So
Now, didn't the local hospital used to have a nursing program?
it was, yeah, years
Years
ago.
and
But-
years and years
so-
ago, but
there
there
were-
was a program there.
Yeah, ATEC did, had 2 years.
But there were 4 or 5 different private transactions with the local hospital after the health services district got out of operating it, and that interrupted just about everything. I think MUSC will provide a consistent partner that'll be there for the long term. So instead of every 2 years, you get a new C-suite coming in and saying, we have a new policy and procedure that you have to follow. Everybody changed the way you do things. And just last week, you heard this was the new best practice. Now we're gonna have some consistency, and I think that is encouraging for the local, for Woolard Tech and also for Central Carolina to have, some feeder programs and filter programs that we work through. And you can get double credit, you get double credit going through, college and high school, just right there.
That's awesome.
So, yeah.
Miss Susie, I actually, if you can be quick about it.
Yeah.
Well, I know you're ready, Taylor, you're on your way. I wanted to give you the opportunity to answer the same question, because myself being from Cassett,
Yeah.
right down the road from you, I'm in State House 50 with a Democrat.
Right.
In my seat, so you're my closest State House rep, and.
I'm loaded for this, I got this.
I
Pitch it, I'm ready.
I got your six, okay? So my question is, I guess being my right there neighbor, my closest representative that knows the way of life that we have, because let's admit, Kershaw County is a mixing pot. You go this way, this way, this way, this way, you're gonna find so many different types of people that enjoy different ways of life. So I wanna turn that over to you. Where would you prioritize? And it can, like, Ben, it can be, excuse me, Representative Connell, it can be a list of things, but where would you appropriate funds first in
So-
prioritizing your area and those around you?
So I'll go and say, this is Ben, this is Cody, we're not representing anything. When it comes to priorities, I will talk about what's going to happen through this budget, but more importantly, the ARPA money that's coming. So like ARPA money, hate ARPA money, Uncle Sugar sent it down here, so we got it, and we need to spend it.
Uncle
Yeah,
Sugar.
So, I mean, that's it, so.
I'm gonna use that.
Right, well, it is, I mean, Uncle Sugar
Uncle
sent
Sugar.
it, so you might as well spend it, and it will sit down here for infrastructure. So, I can tell you that, I didn't even know what it was called, Cassett Rural Water is the Cassett Kershaw Rural Water Commission, or whatever, they're getting $10 million out of rural infrastructure, bank that was approved today, which is the ARPA money that we sent to them for them to send out. That meeting was held today, so that's $10 million for, them. Bethune Rural Water, I think is getting 5, but it may be more than that. Most of the ARPA money, which applaud the governor, applaud us, is we're sending to infrastructure for poor places like Bethune, Cassett, Jefferson, McBee, that normally ain't gonna get money unless they go get a USDA loan. So I can say that that's huge. because number one, so Bethune's, water system was replaced 3 or 4 years ago, and it cost $1.5 million. $1.5 would bankrupt them, you know, to my grandkids. So, that's number one. I mean, we wanna talk about repatriating money, which I'm with Ben, was happy to do it. That's where we need to try to get it, because that's places, I mean, that's once in a lifetime money that people aren't gonna get it. And even though I pay a ton of taxes and I'm not happy about it, I'd much rather get some of it back, and that's the only way I'm gonna get it. Everybody else gets it, you know, New York, Chicago, everywhere else, I might as well get my little piece too. I'll also note that mental health is huge. You know, I practice in Hartsville. I practice mainly Chesterfield, Marlboro, Darlington, Lee, and I got stuck with DSS cases because I was the youngest lawyer around by 30 years. Mental health all day long, substance abuse and mental health. We can't do enough because we are so far behind. I mean, thank the good Lord for people like Ben's brother who've gone off to get into that field. Because even though they may get a big salary, double it. They don't earn enough for what they see. So I say all of that to say I know Senator Penry, it's her time to give us the update. But I can say that we're going to get some money because it's already been appropriated through non-budgetary, through ARPA, through the Rural Infrastructure Bank. And then number two, I know that with mental health, we put more money into it. The budget's coming back from the Senate. The Senate did a pretty good job. They put money in there. Now we can put, you know, some of our marks in there, and hopefully we can hold them all to be able to get things at least better. I mean, you know, unfortunately, the only thing we can do is try to get money and keep bad laws from coming along. That's the only two things we can do, and show up. So, thank y'all for having us tonight.
All right, one last second, gentlemen. Hold on, Penry. Hold on, come up here, gentlemen.
We'll do a quick picture.
We always give a little gift. So
I like it. It's
we
fancy.
had this made for you,
That's fancy.
and it was, I stumbled 3 times trying to say to make it pale blue, but
I like it.
you're
Thank you.
Gamecock
Yes, ma'am.
and he's pale blue.
I am.
The other Carolina.
He's the other Carolina. No, I'm North Carolina State. He's UNC.
We're petty. South Carolina. We do that list.
Okay.
What's your sign?
All right.
I don't have a sign, I can just go like this.
Yes,
All right.
yes, appreciate it.
No, you're welcome.
I'm gonna kiss the babies.
All right, go
Thank
kiss
you.
the babies, go do whatever you need to do. Gentlemen, we'll call you back in a year. Thank you. We're gonna let Penry have a couple of moments, and then we're going to adjourn, so those who would like to go can go, and then the ladies of the group will have a quick business meeting. I'm hoping it will be a quick business meeting. Okay, Penry, you've got just a few minutes.
I'm trying to get this a little bit more. Hello. Okay. It's so hard for us to be. It's really hard to not say a lot if you are representing the state. There is so much going on. There's a lot I can comment on that Representative Mitchell and Connell stated. I do think it's very good that our delegation is a lot more cohesive now more than ever. And that's a great thing. It's a good thing for this county. It's great for South Carolina. It's good for legislation. I want to touch on the repatriating tax dollars. I'm doing the same thing, but I've just called it something very different. I'm calling it standing first in line. I want us to be first in line, whether that be rural infrastructure spending funding, or whether that be something to help us very specifically, fire. Funding fire, it's a mess for rural areas. Act 388 really did a number on rural areas because it based the taxes on business growth rather than home ownership, which is great for the homeowner. However, if you don't have that business growth, you're not going to have a big enough tax base if the population it's a real problem. And it's been a huge hot potato for the General Assembly. I was told 5 years ago when I started looking into this, oh, you can't do anything about that. That's political, and we'll never get it fixed, you'll never get, I said, oh, you don't tell me never. So S401 was born, and as Representative Connell said, much of what he was talking about, the language is very similar. So we are working on it, but it's like the newer, we're working uphill. But I had the support of the most senior legislator in our state at the time. That would be Hugh Letterman, who's passed on. But he saw my bill, and he got behind me and the bill, and he just said, we gotta do it. And of course we voted, but you know, that's how it went through finance and how it got to the Senate floor. So I just want to mention that also. So sitting first in line. My freshman year as a legislator, we received 2 provisos. And I had senior members, seasoned legislators coming up to me and saying, how did you do that? How'd you get the budget? Well, I'm looking at them like, well, have you not been in the budget? Have you not asked for money? And this is how it's done, it's very clear. Except for it wasn't clear. I had to make 5,000 questions to many, many different people. Starting with leaders. I just started at the top. How do I do this? And one would lead to another, would lead to another, would lead to another. And on the last day, literally in the last hour, that's the most I will say about that freshman year, 2 provisos. One for our Veterans Park here, $250,000, and one for the movement of the armory, because that costs to move anything. My first year, I was really proud of that. Last year, again, there were a couple provisos that were met. One was $500,000 for the Carolina Cup. It hasn't been talked about in public much, but yeah. Dan, you didn't know about that either? Yeah. So anyway, that was one, and the other was $250,000 for Goodale State Park. That was also me. So I'm proud of those things too. That's bringing dollars back. That's bringing dollars back.
Yeah.
And then this year, let me tell you about the big kahuna. But this is on my list to talk about. And y'all, I know we have business, but I gotta share with you because this is phenomenal news. Okay, CCTC right here in our hometown in Sumter. Fantastic school. It is well funded. My freshman year, my first year in the Senate, it got $25 million. I'm like, oh, how'd that happen? I didn't ask for it. I didn't know how that happened. I assumed that was probably former Senator Vincent Sheen was probably involved with that. I assumed that my first year. And last year, this year too, CCTC continues to be healthily supported. And yes, there's talk of a nursing program being expanded, and nursing needs to be because we need more nurses. We also need more welders. Now let me tell you about the other technical school in my district. Well, I cover 3 counties, not 1. So y'all know I cover Lancaster and Chesterfield and Kershaw counties. Northeastern Technical College is like the stepchild of the technical college system. It was one of my first visits after I was elected, and I went to a board meeting, and they treated me like a queen. I'm like, and I thought, wow, this is really nice. These people are the nicest people I've ever met. And they said, well, we haven't had a legislator visit us since 2004. Oh my goodness. Their senator legislator had not visited this college in 2004. And I made my mind right there. What do you need? We're going to get y'all caught up. Except for y'all, it was a lot. They had so many basic maintenance issues. I'm not even talking about expansion. I'm talking about getting a new roof, a new air duct system, into basic maintenance. And out of 16 technical colleges in this state, it was the 3rd least funded in the state. So, what do you think I did? Who knows me really well? Who knows me? Tiffany, what do you think I did? What? I did. I made it happen in the last 2 weeks. Let me tell you what happened. Okay. So, I asked for this last year with a huge request. I mean, when I say huge request, I mean a lot of information about everything. all the needs, like a very detailed request list. And when I make requests, it's usually a packet of information, and I sit down with the person first in line under the finance chairman, which is Quentin Hawkins. And then the person under him is Jake Scoggins. I do them first. I leave the big guy for last. That would be our chairman, Senator Harvey Peeler. I had made presentations, meetings, done a lot of historical analysis, been on the campuses. I have been toured possible places for new campuses. It's been a lot. It's been a journey, and I've gotten to know the president of the college, Dr. Kyle Wagner, very well. And I feel like this year was the year. And when I pitched it this year, very last thing I said was, if this state has enough money to write a check for over $1 billion for Scouts Motor, don't tell me we can't find $10 million for NETC. I do not accept that. Except, of course, this is very respectful. I did not say it like that.
You're making it.
But the point was made and shared very respectfully. And it's true, right? Rural South Carolina, boy, get the tail end of every stick. So, after all these presentations and meetings, and I pitched to everybody who listened, even the security staff, everybody knew about this in the steakhouse, y'all. It's like, oh, Henry's coming. Oh, she's going to talk about NETC again. So, this year, I'm really proud of this, y'all. This year, I got $8 million in the budget. $3 million of that is going to the McBee campus. $4 million is going to Sherrall campus because their plans had changed with the architects and other things, and it just, expenses ran over. And then the rest is for maintenance for the main campus. But not only that, I've been told, and this isn't factual yet, but I suspect it will be. I've been told on good authority when we go into conference, that means with Senate members and House members go into conference to kind of work out any differences there are on the bill, on the budget. That money is going to be further raised another $3 million. So we're talking about $11 million for NETC, money well spent. They're going to be taking care of people like Riley. They're going to be educating welders and nurses, and they do it with such passion and compassion. During COVID, they covered every single student's needs for Wi-Fi, internet. They pay for everybody, every student. They didn't have to worry about that anywhere, even if they lived at home. It's a good school, deserves our support, and I fought for it, and I'll continue to fight for technical education. It's so important, especially with Scouts coming here. Because let me tell you, all that's going to bleed right into Kershaw County. I could talk about that another day, and I could talk about so much more than this, but I gave you a printed, a 6-page printout that is my legislative update just for the last 2 weeks. And I included an article here about NETC. And my job is a joy. It's a pain, but I love it. I love representing you. I love representing the state. I want to stay as long as you will have me. Because I'm doing things like getting $11 million as a third-year senator.
Amazing.
Last year, $500,000. This year, $11 million. Oh, you're good. I forgot. $11 million for NETC. Thank you, Senate and House. So anyway, and that's our tax dollars, okay? So you're not going to see me fighting to stand up for anything frivolous. Let me put it that way. And I'll do one last thing. One thing I asked for this year, but because they gave me, $8 to $11 million, I guess they said, "Oh, we're going to let you wait another year on the settlement." But was a very specific request for the Fine Arts Center of Kershaw County to make the bathrooms ADA compliant.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
Yes,
That would
it's
be
needed.
amazing. And necessary.
And to make all the buildings ADA compliant, because if you're a disabled person, you just can't do certain things at the Fine Arts Center. That's not good, and it's so expensive. It's so expensive. So budget. I was told that would not happen. It's in the budget.
Congratulations.
So anyway, whoa, thank you, that's all.
Okay, ladies, we're gonna take, to 7:40 break, and we'll start again right here around this table. If you're not a member and